Hi, good morning. With the fifth season of You finally announced to be releasing on April 24th, I wanted to go through all of the news about the final season, decode the hidden messages and the latest promo posters, and throw out a few more crazy theories. Almost 2 years ago, season 4 ended with Joe confessing some of his past to Kate, who accepted him as a man who's done awful things before, but now wants to turn it around and put good into the world. So they head back to New York, where Kate takes over her father's business empire and Joe buys Mooney's bookstore, which we already get to see in the first trailer for season 5. The original casting announcements include Madeline Brewer as Bronte, who might be Joe's final love interest, Anna Camp as both of Kate's twin sisters, so you know what that means, and Griffin Matthews as Kate's brother. I already talked about them, so I'll link that video if you want to go watch it, but there have been even more character announcements since then. First is Detective Marquez, played by the actress from Baby Reindeer. She's a detective, and that's all we know about her, besides the fact that I can't wait to see her in another show. Next is one of Kate's friends, Dominique. She might seem like an aloof hipster, but she's actually pretty clever, passionate, and very protective of her friends, who tend to be scrappy artists, despite Dominique herself coming from a wealthy family like Kate. I think this season will show Kate's circle of friends, because we know Joe doesn't have any, and they might be more artists now that she's home in New York. And maybe her dynamic with Dominique will be kind of like how she was with Roald last season, where Kate rejected her father's wealth, but Roald said to use the money as a way to achieve the good that she wanted. So now Kate sees money as a tool, but Dominique is the one that's rejecting her wealthy upbringing to cosplay as a starving artist. Unless she turns out to be like a successful artist who used her family's wealth to get ahead, then forget all of that. Then there's Harrison, who is a pro football player married to Kate's sister Regan, who is the ruthless CFO twin, so she's the business boss babe and he's the trophy husband. Harrison is described as Joe's golden retriever brother-in-law, so I can't wait to hear Joe's thoughts on him, because there's nothing that Joe hates more than like a happy, dumb dude. But an actual rival slash target for this season might be Clayton, who is, quote, a pretentious, self-absorbed wannabe writer who is so vindictive and controlling that Joe can't help but be drawn to him. So really, it could go either way. Actually, Joe could see his own qualities in Clayton and hate him for it because he's a hypocrite like that, or he could be at a point where those similarities make him crave a connection with that person and he wants to be BFFs before eventually turning on him. And you guys are not going to like this Phoenix thing. Finally, there's a character called Phoenix, and I don't know what their deal is, so I'm just going to read their description. Phoenix is a shrewd and resourceful person with a strong moral code. Their young life was upended by tragedy, setting them on a course that led to New York with a search for a renewed purpose. Okay, so how do I know more about Phoenix than Detective Marquez, but also somehow less? Like, who is this person? I swear to God, are they the one that pieces everything together? I don't know what their tragedy was, but maybe that course to New York was paved by clues from the Dr. Nikki subreddit. Today, our video is sponsored by the letter P. So here's an insane theory based solely on the letter P. Previously Paco. I don't know how much time has passed, but things can change. The tragedy could be the stuff from season 1 or something that happened to Claudia after they moved away, so Paco was on his own to fend for himself, hence becoming resourceful, similar to Joe. And one day he discovers the Dark Face of Love book, but he knows the truth, so he realizes his own role in Beck's death, and it hits hard, but it starts this fire inside of him, with Phoenix rising from the ashes with a strong moral code and setting out to New York to stop Joe. Or something, I don't know, it's just based on both names starting with P. But also, there were some recent promo posters with certain red letters and newspaper headlines spelling out secret messages. The first one says, "Secrets don't stay buried," and the second one just says, "Goodbye, you." I wonder, the trailer is just like focusing on like the cage, like he's so attached to the cage, which like, same, I love the cage. Is he saying goodbye to the cage? Like because he's going to be in like jail? So he can't trap anyone else in the cage because he's going to be trapped in his own cage. There's another poster that shows Joe in like chest-deep water in the cage with the caption, "To the last breath," and a new trailer that showcases Joe's attachment and relationship to the cage. That makes it feel like he might end up there. I'm not sure about the water, but I could see an ending where he gets discovered and locked in the cage by somebody from his past. That could be Marianne if she comes back. There were some pictures of her from filming, so we will see her again, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Joe will. She would have an advantage with him believing that she's dead and buried, but she knows his secrets, and secrets don't stay buried. And Detective Marquez could be the right kind of person to actually listen to and believe Marianne's story. It could also still be his mom. She could have started keeping tabs on him after he showed up at her house, and over time, she pieced things together. Maybe because there were other incidents in his childhood that we don't know about. They went back and filled in backstory before. It could happen again. Especially now that Joe is embracing the dark side of himself, he could also start embracing memories that he suppressed. But there is the theory out there that Joe killed his mom. I'll link to that video if you want to go hear the whole thing, but it focuses on her looking wet when he visualizes her in season 2. So fine, with the water in the poster, I concede that maybe he drowned her, kind of like how he drowned the original Candace in the book. But speaking of Candace, what if she's still alive? Like, I know we saw her get stabbed in the throat, but how funny would it be if Love did the same thing that Joe did and thought she was dead when she actually wasn't? I mean, did Candace's bloody body lay in the back of Love's car overnight until she called somebody, probably Elliot, to deal with it? Sure. But how long did she survive being buried alive? Secrets don't say buried, then neither does Candace. Candace is alive, 2025. The final season looks like it's going to follow Joe and Kate's friends and family because Joe doesn't have any. And Bronte will show up and I guess become Joe's new obsession. Like, he's been happy with Kate, but he's gotten enough out of her and he's ready for somebody more down to earth, back to his roots, a writer like Bronte. I don't think Kate will survive the season, but I don't know how Joe can take her out without getting discovered himself. It's already a stretch that he managed to kill somebody like Tom Lockwood and his personal security guard, but following it up by killing that man's daughter and business empire heir, who is yet another amazing wealthy woman that he somehow managed to snag, would face too much scrutiny, right? Right? I do take back my mayor theory from my first season 5 video. The whole Fifth Avenue thing is not so funny anymore because it's like too real. It was a joke made at a different time when I didn't think we would be going through this again. I'm tired of seeing the bad guys win, so I need Joe to go down by the end of these final 10 episodes. Jail, death, lifetime confinement to the cage, listening to the Pitch Perfect DVD menu screen on loop, I don't care. Let me escape to a fantasy world where the bad guys actually face consequences. Now I want to talk about the leaked pictures that came out for season 5, so if you think that's spoilers, then consider this the end of the video. Bye. Like I mentioned, there were some pictures showing Marianne, and it looks like she's in a city, so maybe she comes to New York. There were also some pictures of Joe and Kate with a kid, who I guess would probably be Henry, back in Joe's custody, so we'll see what happens there, because there's no way that Joe is good for his son. Finally, there were some pictures of what looks like Joe being escorted by U.S. Marshals and lawyers out of maybe the back of a courthouse, and a front-page news article calling out Joe as a murderer. Now, how real to the story are these pictures? Who knows? Our favorite murdering maniac has such a wild imagination in that malfunctioning mind of his that I wouldn't be surprised if these scenes just turn out to be part of a fatalistic fantasy he's having. If they're real, then I can imagine that somebody starts digging up Joe's past and actually builds a case against him that makes it to trial, but then Kate funds his defense, delusionally still trusting him and only believing the parts of his past that he told her, until everything comes out in court and she kind of finally realizes that he's been lying to her too. But now that she knows the truth, he takes her out in some way. Or what if Henry kills her? Like, in just some situation that Joe manages to orchestrate, Henry kills Kate like Joe killed his maybe dad. Just to get Joe off the hook, because, like, I don't know how Joe is gonna... I know Kate is not gonna survive. There's no way. There's no way Kate survives. But how does Joe kill her in this season? Like, unless he's not the one that does it. I have an idea that he might manipulate Regan into doing it. That's kind of what it feels like. I feel like he could get Regan to do it. Maybe. We'll see. I know I was pretty disappointed by the final season of The Umbrella Academy. Well, disappointed would be an understatement. But I'm not sure that I could be that let down by the last season of You. I just have less expectations for it and way less attachment to it. I'm not as attached to the serial killer as I was to the Umbrellas. What a surprise. But it is really weird because I've spent so much more time on You and You videos, but I'm more like whatever happens, happens. I'm just excited to see where it goes. Whether he gets away with it or not, I just hope the quality is there. I just want it to be good. I already took a vacation day for it. I watched the trailer, saw the date, and sent an email like, I need to take this day off. What I do, it's called work-life balance, okay? Okay, I'm done now. I'm fucking done. That's taken way too long. Oh my god. An hour and 10 minutes to record a 8 or 9 minute video.